The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout.
It's just an absolute, unacceptable, unforgivable screw-up of a year. And it's, according to StatMuse, it's historically unprecedented.
Watching Laker fans react to common sense moves over the weekend was quite something. None of these moves are Danny Ainge. They didn't reshape the roster.
He came into this world as the son of a coach, but in these playoffs, he became the Lakers' daddy. So I tell you what, NBA, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
There will be a time.
So the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody that's here. I'm not here alone. I'm with my PGM brother, KB, and also our special guest here, Tim Cranges, Tim MBA. Anyway, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Not bad at all.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I love the Twitter spaces you guys do. I'll pop in and out when I have some time, and happy to be here to discuss.
Yeah. It's kind of, this preseason kind of went by pretty quick, if I'm being honest, and it's kind of interesting how things go, because for us we kind of do this thing where it's entertainment, and it's just honestly, like, even the spaces, it's like we try to go with trying to add some facts and add some spice, and it's not a Powerpuff Girl, but it should be entertaining at least. So, but anyway, other than that, I just wanted to say, and I just wanted to ask, just go around, KB, what's on your purple and gold mind? Like, what has been going on, man?
Preseason has been fun to watch the young ones, or the G Leaguers, grow and just watch on, see what they need to develop on. Watch the whole entire preseason. It just makes me want. I'm pretty sure Tim can be on the same page as me, but it just makes me want to see opening night so bad. I'm ready for the games to count because, I just keep looking too much on the Twitter/X timeline. So it's been too many overreactions.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, if I'm being honest. Like, I've been on the support of Julian Huscafino and being like, hey, he's not that bad, but it's rough when you're a Laker fan. It's this thing where there's a huge pool of people that just wants to go on narratives. But honestly, Tim, just wanted to ask you, man, what's on your purple and gold minds? We kind of do this segment. It's just see how things are, and basically, just if you can talk a little bit about yourself, for the people that don't know, just put a plug if you can.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for having me. I am enjoying the couple days before the first game of the year, but I'm very excited for that. Preseason has been enjoyable. It's also the whole thing's a grind for me because we'll stream the games on playback, and then doing pods and doing extra video content and play of the day stuff. I also track every play the team runs on offense. So let me see, 535 rows of info I've already collected, and it'll be about 7,000 or 8,000 by the end of the season. Actually, I guess more than that now that I'm doing the preseason. But we have a couple days to just kind of take a step back and say, all right, how was it? Was it good? Was it bad? What didn't I like? What do I like? And, everybody's in mid-season form on Twitter already overreacting. And, it's the end of the world because this guy didn't shoot well, or that guy doesn't fit, or I don't like his vibe, or I don't know. I try to take a more patient and nuanced approach, and understanding that, these are exhibition games. They're out there trying stuff out. We'll talk about it. Some of it matters. Some of it doesn't matter. And trying to parse that really where the value is, because looking at the Lakers, they go 2-4. I couldn't tell you which games they won or lost because they don't matter. But I could, talk to you for 6 hours about all the cool things that they tried and did and what we know about the team now. So I don't know. That's maybe I come from a different perspective. I'm on Twitter as our Tim_NBA, Cranches McBasketball. Like to approach the game from a scheme standpoint, from a data standpoint. I have backgrounds in both and run a consulting firm that's also, we've got a public facing wing called B-Ball Index, where you can find some cool data on the NBA. We've worked with NBA teams, WNBA teams, college teams on the men's and women's side, international teams, consulting with agents and players. We've got some of that going on right now with contract extension talks. So trying to, use facts to help tell stories and learn more about the game. And there isn't, sometimes people don't want to hear that, but we're trying to do our best to, make data kind of speak the language of basketball. And I try to combine those two things the best I can with our streams and the podcasts and all that good stuff.
That I actually wanted to ask you, and I don't have it in my rundown, but I just wanted to ask, how do you digest this game? Like in terms of like for a fan, it's I'm watching each play, I'm enjoying what I'm watching, but bro, I'm not gonna lie, how you see the game or the point of view, is that you, or do you have a team behind you? How does that even work? It's because the data that you're pumping out, I'm not gonna lie, it's fire, but it's does he pause for every second, or is it quick? I'm just wondering, from a fan to a professional, do you view the game differently in that point of view, or do you just replay it a whole bunch?
Honestly, it's hard not to see the game differently after
Tim, are you there?
I think we might have lost him.
I think we might have lost him. We may just clip this section here. 8:25. All right. Let's see if we can get Tim back. Anyways, while we get Tim back, KB, just curious, man. Now that the preseason is over, and honestly, I should be more excited. Again, I'm a bit nervous. It's my first time doing this in a big minute, so let me just get excited about this. Laker basketball starts this week. Again, when this pod drops, it's probably game day. I'm not gonna lie, I am excited. I am pumped. This is gonna be epic. But the question that I have, KB, is what is currently now that the preseason is over, what is your biggest takeaway? From just preseason, what's the one thing that we can go back and be this is actually the one thing that it's gonna carry in the season, or what's your takeaway, buddy?
Offensive rebounding. That's going to carry in the season, and the question is, can we fix it? And is that going to remain to be an issue throughout the season? Because if that is probably going to be one of our biggest issues. Oh, we got Tim back.
Yeah, my bad. I crapped out for a second there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And I mean, if you want to continue where you left off, that's perfectly fine, man.
Okay, I'm not sure what you heard. Do you want to just do the answer again, and then you can cut out the beginning? Or
yeah, just go. You literally just started the answer, and it really
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's hard not to see the game a little bit differently. Basketball has gone more and more from being just a fun passion where I'm a fan to I can't unsee certain things. And like when I'm watching the game, like, I'm noticing who's making rotations. I'm looking at what play are they running, and does that play make any sense based on how the defense is playing? And with my background, having run in the analytics department at the college level, having coached, having consulted with teams, designed playbooks, I certainly view the game from a little bit of a different lens. With our B-ball index stuff, like we've got a whole team behind it, and we've got some brilliant people that have done great work for us, gotten paid well, used the platform, and then I'm proud of the pipeline of folks that we've had that have gone on to NBA teams, NFL teams, and Major League Baseball teams. So that certainly helps. But on the Lakers side, with like tracking the play calls and all of that, that's all me. I certainly use the resources available to me to rewatch games. Every now and then I have to rewatch something 2 or 3 times for a specific play, but it's usually live I'm watching to just kind of entertain, call things out on the playback stream and say, hey, this is what I would be doing to adjust. Try to give guys props for what they're doing. And then on the rewatch, it's very much like, okay, they were in 5 out. They ran this play. They got a post up, potential assist from D'Lo for a Christian Wood, short mid-range shot that went in. And I'm just tracking the right information so that I can, run all the numbers and make sure that, I trust my eyes. My eyes are well trained. I've been in a scouting department, all that stuff, but trusting that I can, accurately consolidate hundreds or thousands of plays and be able to be like, oh yeah, this is slightly better than that, is where I really try to lean on, knowing that I don't know everything or I can't digest everything at the same time. I think that's having that humility and being able to lean on resources that I trust, I think is such a key part to analyzing the game more accurately.
That's actually pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Like, to be able to analyze the game to that level and that extent, and also like it helps us kind of like fans like me. We're learning every single day. Like, I think it was KB, like a year ago that we kind of met up.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
it was and even back then, like, I knew what a pick and roll was. I kind of knew what hedge was. I kind of knew, like, I knew the terms, but to the depths, it's like when I kind of stumbled into Timsicon, I'm like, yo. And by the way, shout out to Sean Davis, because he actually is the one that kind of steered a lot of the fan base kind of that way too. And honestly, I'm kind of like a newbie in Twitter, or at least, in terms of basketball. And I'm like, yo, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a good learning process, and I was always curious about that. It's like, how does he crunch the numbers like that quick or that fast? It's like, yo, that's great. But going from what KB said before you came in, and now with that, let's segue to the preseason, because it kind of was short, 6 games, and like you said, it's kind of like an exhibition game. But just curious, what's the biggest takeaway right now in your opinion? Like, what's the biggest surprise, or however you want to structure it? But what's the one thing that you took from preseason?
So going into preseason, felt pretty good that I knew like who the players were, their strengths and weaknesses. I was, expecting a lot of what we've seen offensively, which has been a relief, but I think defensively is really where the team kind of had to prove out what I was hoping they would do. Cause last year they were a little bit more limited. They were in drop coverage a bunch, or they were switching, but we didn't see any of that like hedging, none of that like more high school, college style. Like, we're going to put the big man who's defending the screener up at the level of the screen to make sure that you can't take that shot immediately. And then we're going to rotate behind it. Last season's roster didn't have the guys to rotate well. This year we do. And this year we went and grabbed a guy like Christian Wood, a guy like Jackson Hayes, who they're not going to be good in drop, but they are going to be good at like hedging, and they rotate fairly well. So, and then another thing is this team, from a screen navigation standpoint, if you're bad at that, it's really hard to beat coverage. And D'Lo, Vincent, and like Vando, those are guys that aren't very good screen navigators. And so hedging also kind of mitigates that concern. So I was really, really hoping that we would see the team use some of those more mobile coverages. And I was also hoping to see the team use like different things. I don't want us to only be able to throw one pitch. You want to be able to go into, especially for the playoffs, like you want to be able to do different things. Sometimes it's going to be, oh, switch is the way to defend this team. We want to drop against that team and then hedge against that team. Last playoffs, Denver was a team that was worst against hedging as an offense, and LA themselves well enough to try it. And this year we will have that pitch to throw, it looks like, because we saw in the preseason that the team did all three of those things. And I'm simplifying a little bit. You can get way more nuanced with each of them, but we saw switching, drop, and hedging. We saw them kind of do them in chunks. So like the first couple games, it was like, we're only playing drop. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care who we're playing. We are getting our reps in. We are going to drill this, and we're going to, work out those details. And sometimes they didn't look good because, again, Christian was not good at that. Jackson Hayes isn't great at that. Playing it against Steph Curry is not a good idea. So there were moments of preseason where it was like, wow, this doesn't look very good. And your eyes weren't lying to you, but they weren't looking good at things that they're not going to be doing in the regular season. So seeing the team work in all of those coverages, and kind of Jackson Hayes actually talked about at Media Day how the coaching staff told the team they were going to, on a game-to-game basis, switch up the defensive coverages based on the opponent. That was like music to my ears. That is exactly what like Tim from a coaching standpoint wants to hear. And it's good. It's great long-term. Short-term, understand that preseason looked worse than it really is because it wasn't really optimized. And then understand that early in the regular season, the defense is going to start slow. It is not going to be as easy to be good at three things when, maybe you play a dozen games and 4 games we're going to switch, 4 games we're going to drop, 4 games we're going to hedge. By the end of those dozen games, you've kind of worked on all three, but you're not going to be as refined as if you were only doing one thing for all 12 games. So I want to, try to exercise patience with the defense early in the season, but this is really, really good news from a championship aspiration standpoint, which is maybe a super nuanced Tim thing to notice, but I think could end up being a really big thing for this team this season.
I know. That's actually music to my ears. I mean, you just said championship. Like that's enough. Like ding, ding, ding. Like take me to that. But yeah, no, that's
agreed.
Yeah, and you actually said something, and I think it segues to this part pretty well. It's I'll be honest, like the whole different coverages, because that just adds versatility to the team, and that is music to my ears. Because like when you look at this roster, when you look at each individual, it's like there's a lot of versatility here. But I'm just curious because you just mentioned Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood, and certain coverages and whatnot. But I'm just curious, which Laker will step up this season? Let's start with Tim, and then we'll go to KB. But just curious.
Yeah, good question. My pick would be, and I'll go to a guard for this. I'm going to say D'Lo. Last year, his time overall on the season was down, like from an impact standpoint in the data. He was worse than his norm. And with the Lakers, he couldn't hit a pull-up 3 to save his life, which is very uncharacteristic for him. I was expecting a bounce back. He's already kind of shown that he can do that. I trust that he's going to bounce back. He was the 27th ranked point guard last season from an offensive impact standpoint, according to our data at B-Ball Index. He averaged ranking 12th the 4 years prior. So if he can get back to his norm, that's huge for him, and it's huge for this team. We're already seeing him command the offense really well. He's leading the team in facilitating. From the data I'm tracking, 50% of the shots he's created for teammates have been open shots, which is the best on the team and way above the norm. And his defensive playmaking taking a jump will really help with his fit. And if the team is going to be hedging a lot more and a scheme like that requires more rotating, that's something that really helps lean into his strengths on defense and lean away from his weakness of screen navigation on defense. So I see him fitting what LA wants to do really well. I see him comfortable already. And for all the people who wanted to trade him, he's good at a lot of the things you would want in whoever you're getting back for him. Just let him be himself. that tiny sample we saw last year was not really representative of who he can be and who he has been. And I think a bounce back year for him, getting back to like top 12, top 15 offensive impact, and really being like the point guard, the quarterback of this offense, is going to be really, really big for this team.
Tony, you're on mute.
Whoops, my bad. Yo, KB, do you have a rebuttal? Do you feel like that's true or not, or like just curious? What's your point of view, man?
No rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and just take a shot in the dark. Tim, I think you did mention him. I listened to your podcast. If you guys don't, you guys definitely should. He is located on Spotify, so I would do so. For myself, I'm still riding for Cam Reddish. I still am, always will. He has been a journeyman, and it's just been unfortunate because he hasn't had a chance to shine. I've seen what he's capable of, but I do agree with what Tim's saying. I'm looking very forward to what D'Lo's doing because I have not seen him be that aggressive on the defensive end and aggressive on the offensive end. So it's been really interesting to see him like apply himself and be aggressive on both ends of the court. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to look like in the regular season.
I mean, that's a good point. And Tim brought. It's just I didn't think it was D'Lo. If I'm being honest, I thought he was gonna say Torian Prince. I thought he was gonna say I don't know like Anthony Davis, just in terms of like power forward Anthony Davis, which it's interesting.
Well, I mean, can't we all agree that when it comes down to it, D'Lo does have the most to prove because of what happened in playoffs? No.
Well, that's the point though, because like if you think about it, and I'll say this, like if you look at the Denver series, it's kind of like D'Lo was just the one man out. He was like this guy that was just targeted. He couldn't. Again, he was targeted on defense. He didn't make his shots on offense. I think what was it in that series? Lakers versus Denver. They made what like he averaged 8 points or less, something like that. Like it's. If we get the D'Lo that we're seeing in preseason and that kind of ekes out and kind of like falls into the full season and the playoffs, that would be, I mean, that's just another element. I feel like when D'Lo is on, like this offense is just crazy. Like it's to another level. It's not as simple as like, you got to knock AD out or you got to knock out LeBron. It's like it adds a whole new dimension to it. So I kind of like Tim's the whole D'Lo. Like that's if he can step up, that'll be great. But I'm curious though, because you said Cam Reddish. I have Cam Reddish out of the rotation. I don't know about you, KB. Do you have him out of the rotation? Because right now it's like it doesn't look good, man. Like it really doesn't look good.
So look, I understand, and this is where I came down to it. I gave Max the bump ahead of Reddish because they kept on saying it's the battle between the two. I gave Max the not the go ahead, but I gave him the or the one toe over. You know what I mean, Max Reddish, because of what Max can over Cam Reddish because of what Max can do. And plus, I don't think he was being used the right way because he's not going to be playmaking. He's going to be doing more of a catch and shoot, defending, being like a POA, attack defender. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Cam Reddish is going to get any minutes. It's just the point where we need him to slide in with the bid shooter if something does happen with like what we have going on with Vando. That kind of messes things up. So that's going to shift Max and Reddish into more important positions to play. So when injuries happen to the roster, that's when I kind of want to see if Cam Reddish can do so. But as of now, you're right. I don't see Cam Reddish even seeing the floor anytime during the regular season. It's just times like these when people get injured. It's like, can he step up when he's asked? When the call is for him.
You know what? And credit to Cam Reddish because his on the defensive side, I've seen a lot that I like a lot. He gets into the passing lanes. His wingspan and just overall length and kind of like his lateral movement. I kind of like what I seen from him. He's not gonna lock up a wing defender or things like that, but he I kind of see him like a pest. You see what I'm trying to say? Like he has that versatility, and I think if you put him like on guards on smaller guards, I think he's just gonna create havoc. The thing about Cam Reddish is just I haven't seen him click on offense. Like he has one of I kind of like his offensive package. Like he can self create his shot. He's versatile enough where he actually is like if you need him like, hey, give me a bucket right now, he'll do that. And if you compare that to Max Christie, Max is not there yet. You see what I'm trying to get at? Like Max is not. Yeah, like because like Max is great. He actually has this when it comes to being the POA or just being like cash and shoot POA, nothing more, nothing less. I think he'll excel in that role. But I'm just saying, like the ceiling for Cam Reddish was always high. Like I don't think that's a doubt. It's just can the Lakers extract that? But but currently speaking, I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna happen. But and I'm curious to see here. We got Tim back. Tim, yo, don't worry about if the internet comes in and out. Whatever, man.
I've moved to a different spot in my house. It should be better now. It was working perfectly.
Yeah.
Then we went on our honeymoon and we got back. And in my office, it's really spotty. So my bad.
Oh, wait, congrats, man.
Yeah, very much. Congratulations.
Wow, congratulations, man. That's a big move, man. That's a big move. Hey, but congrats. Yo, so we are on the who is out of the rotation kind of segment here, and my vote is on Cam Reddish. And KB's actually thinking. What was your answer, KB? I think we never got to that. I mean, we were comparing Max and Cam Reddish.
Max and Cam Reddish, yes. What I was saying was I already I'm already willing to accept the fact that Max is going to get a lot more playing time and looks before Cam Reddish is. I just thought with Vando being out and we don't know when he's going to be back because he's day to day. But I'm pretty sure Tim has more information on this. But from a fan's perspective and from all we know, all we got last year or the years before was there are players that are day to day and they end up being out for multiple weeks. So when it comes down to Cam Reddish, I was just thinking since Vando is down, other players would get shifted to get more minutes on the court. Now, let's say if Max isn't producing, then that's going to be so Cam Reddish, what can you give us? So that's my hope. But as of now, I definitely want to make sure I see Max Reddish get his play. So it's Max for me. I agree.
So who's out of the rotation, Tim?
It's gonna be it's gonna be Reddish for me. My bad.
It's gonna be my answer is gonna be Reddish. I think he really missed out on an opportunity by being hurt earlier in preseason. That was kind of his chance to show the team what he could do. More of a sample with real lineups. He was thrown out there, and a lot of guys were thrown out there in some of these deeper bench groups that just were kind of dead on arrival. Like there wasn't really any good that you were going to get from them offensively. I'm not really moved by seeing Cam Reddish like run ball screens or play iso ball. Like the job that he and Christie will play is like off ball, spot up shooter, occasional ball screen, occasional handoff, like some off screen stuff. And Christie is a more reliable 3-point shooter from my perspective. And Christie, I like his. I mean, I think you can make a case for either of them defensively, but if you split out what Max Christie did this preseason between in lineups where he's doing kind of what he should be doing, and then in lineups where he was asked to be like a pick and roll guy on high volume, he was certainly better at one of those areas than the other, and it's the area that should translate to the actual rotation and lineup. So I see Max playing that backup shooting guard role, maybe give him like 10-ish minutes per game, because I think honestly, like D'Lo, Reeves, and Vincent are going to take up most of the 96 minutes at point guard and shooting guard. But Reddish, for me, is one of those first guys out. And I think with Hayes emerging and with Vando apparently likely back soon, I haven't asked around to try to get any inside info. I know like Nunn last season was supposedly like day to day, but like his knee was like destroyed. I don't believe this is one of those situations. So if he's back soon, I think that kind of closes a door. I hope Reddish can play well. Like it'd be good if he's playing well enough that he's pressing Max or someone else for minutes. But knowing what we know about each of the guys, if I'm separating like what I hope will happen and what I think will happen, I would assume Reddish is out of the regular like healthy rotation.
So that's interesting. And I think we are all in agreement. But I'm curious, what about when it comes to the defensive end? Because I personally like what I saw from Cam Reddish on the defensive end. I'm not sure if you agree on that. Like, and I'm not comparing it with Max. I'm just saying like I was happy to see some of the things like he would get into the passing lanes. He would get into like because he's so lengthy and kind of like again he's kind of like a big wing. So I kind of like that part of it. I'm not sure if you agree on it or you saw something differently in the defensive end, but at least I kind of like it. Do you agree on that or no?
I do.
So
yeah, I like it.
So I'd say there are things he's good at defensively. There are things he's not as good at. Like his on-ball defense is good, and that's something that I think it's easy to, when you're watching, like that stands out, and that matters. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it's also something that like it's one area of defense, and there are other areas that he's not as good at. Like his rotating off-ball is a weaker area for him. His like screen navigation is a weaker area for him. He is a pretty good like defensive playmaker. He picks pockets, he jumps passing lanes, and those are areas that Max didn't do much of last season. But I think it's some of the like littler things that are still meaningful where Reddish has room to grow, and like especially the off-ball defense is something that watching live, like it's something that I really have to be paying attention to try to notice that. Naturally, your eyes go towards the ball and the actions, but how well he's rotating, how well he's sticking with his guy, stuff like that, I think he has room for growth with. And it's the type of stuff that like improved technique, improved awareness, you can get better. It's not that he doesn't have the physical tools to do it. It's just one of those cases where like year after year, there are things he's pretty good at, yet his defensive impact is consistently poor. And I don't know, that should signal that there's more going on than maybe some of those like highlights and some of his strengths would tell you. So I think both guys have room for growth, and Christie's fit as like a shooter is more like I trust that more than Reddish at this point, and that's why I would lean his direction. But I think you can make a case that Reddish is like a more impactful defensive player, can be a more impactful defensive player with like the defensive playmaking he brings.
Gotcha. See, again, it's from a fan perspective, it's very hard to kind of see the off ball movement. That's why I kind of tip my hat. I really do tip my hat off because like to just be aware of basically it's kind of like you need like 10 pair of eyes to see like it's kind of like not only on ball but also like back like it's interesting. Now that being said, I did have a question. Is it possible to run Torian Prince at 2, or is that not? Was that never done in the preseason?
It can be, and it was done in the preseason. If you look at what position Prince guarded most often the past 2 full seasons, it was shooting guard. Like he was used as a chaser defender. If we look at our B-ball index defensive roles, that's what he's been used in, and he's been like okay at it, not great, not horrific. About around average for a chaser. He can do that. Offensively, he certainly fits the profile of what you'd want out of that position. So he would work there. As a 3, he is undersized. I think I was looking at it yesterday. He'd be like 15th percentile or so from a height standpoint among small forwards last season that played 1,000 or more minutes. So you lose something there with his size. In watching the film on him, his like box out tendencies, his defensive rebounding tendencies need some work. It's another thing that can be improved upon, but he thus far hasn't been great at it. So you lose some value there. So there are definitely things to poke at with Prince's defense that could make someone want to start someone else, a different player. But offensively, Prince like fits like a glove with what they want to do and is shooting the hell out of the ball. So I can definitely see him playing some of those backup 2 minutes if Christie isn't performing and the team doesn't think Reddish can do it. Or someone's hurt, and then I would rather have Prince in the backcourt than JHS joining the backcourt, I think, in terms of like who's ready right now to play and contribute.
Come on, from a JSS fan, and by the way, I'm not a fan. I'm just like, again, he's a project. Like people kind of like in Twitter just go,
I'm a fan.
Hey, we got a fan. Hey,
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
He needs time. I feel like even the biggest fans would tell you he wasn't drafted because he was good. Like he was in all our data, people on X, he was an average Big Ten rotation player on both ends of the court. Looking at the film, there's some clear holes. The shooting is a question mark. His point of attack defense is spotty. There are things that he needs to be better at, but he was drafted because of his traits, because of the upside, because of the potential. And that's okay, because this is a super deep team and you have other guys that can step up if someone's injured. And so like, I don't think evaluating JHS as a draft pick right now is fair, because the intent of the team was for him to be ready in a season or two. Same thing with them drafting Max Christie last year. They said, this is a guy who's going to be a lottery pick in a year. We're going to grab him now. We don't need him to be ready this year. If he can, great. If not, perfect. That's on our timeline. And like now, year 2, this is when they expect something of him. So I think I forget which space I was in. They were debating like Scottie Pippen and JHS, but like now, JHS, he's not ready. When you look at like the shots he's created for teammates in preseason, they were less open than when guys were self-creating their own shots. That is not good. Like that is, He was playing point guard a bunch with those deep bench units, and it wasn't working. And he needs time, and that's okay. And so I guess that's my positioning on him. If you want somebody this season, if he can do it, shout out to him because he's really grown. But I would expect it to be more coming from a Christie or a Reddish or a Taurean Prince.
So gotcha. don't you consider that position then is kind of weak? I mean, when you look at the depth chart, we got D'Lo. Timeout. Sorry, my bad. I forgot that LeBron James can also do some point, though he's off ball.
Disrespectful.
I'm being disrespectful. By the way, Tim, I'm known to be a LeBron hater. It seems so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but my bad. Anyway, moving on. Just wanted to ask you, man. As an X's and O's coach, kind of like if you were the head coach, and this is a you question because honestly I don't know how to even answer it, but just curious, Tim, what plays would you run? Like, what's something that the Lakers haven't done that you would want them to do, or have they just checked all the boxes? If that
good
makes
question.
Sense.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, before preseason, I answered this question on my own podcast. I don't know if it was a stream or just a pod or a bonus pod. I forget what it was, but I think it was on a stream. And I literally like pulled up our digital whiteboard that we use on the streams, on the Lakers Watch Party playback streams. And I drew up like, hey, this is the type of stuff I would want. I would love to see more 5-out. I would love to see more dribble handoff offense. I'd love to see more off-screen stuff. I would love to see pick and roll plays where we then have that Spain or stack action where you got a shooter under the rim running up to the top of the key, or using exit screens where they run out to the corners. I drew up a bunch of stuff, and then the Lakers through 6 preseason games pretty much did all of what I was asking for. So I'm pretty happy. I'm very happy. And I am not usually this happy. I've been analyzing the team for the Byron Scott years, the Luke Walton years, the Frank Vogel years. That shit stunk offensively. I was in hell from a like X's and O standpoint for a while. There's no way I could be logging every play and like diagramming that stuff because it was awful. But now they've gotten to a point where they're like actually running like some really, really good stuff from a design standpoint in terms of fitting the personnel to an alignment or like a formation. Like this is a really good roster for 5-out, and running the specific actions and plays they're running really fits this roster. And even the play calling, they've done a really good job. Like, if it works, we're going to keep calling the same play. They've done that repeatedly. And like, remember that game? I think it was Brooklyn. D'Lo hit like a bunch of pull-up threes. They were running double drag over and over again. That was a series of plays that last season, even with D'Lo not shooting well from three, when he was the point guard running those plays where they have 2 ball screens in a row, guys in the corners, the Lakers were scoring like 1.66 points per possession, which is like stupid good. Stuff like that for him is great. So I might, if you want to hear more about X's and O's, I guess come on over to my podcast or check out the streams and I'll draw stuff for you.
Yes, please do so.
And I'm doing, we've been doing these play of the day videos, and we have a little bit of a backlog, so we're going to get some more videos up soon, but literally us pulling clips, showing a diagram, explaining here's what they're doing, here's how they do it, why they do it, here's why it works, here's when it doesn't work. If you want to learn more about the Lakers playbook and X's and O's, come on over. The team has run 82 set plays through 6 preseason games, like 82 different plays. And I would say that so far they're doing what I want them to do. And tying back to the last discussion point, they are doing a lot more dribble handoff offense run through the bigs as a way to, I mean, I think it's really good mid clock and late clock. If the play didn't work, throw it to a big man. We're going to turn it into a dribble handoff or pick and roll or whatever. But also, if you have like LeBron hurt or D'Lo hurt, from a playmaking, ball handling standpoint with this team, you trust LeBron, D'Lo, and Reeves, and like that's it. Like Vincent can do some of it, but he's not the same caliber of guy. Christie's not ready for that. You don't want to have to play JHS. Prince isn't going to do that. He's a great ball mover, but not like a on-ball pick and roll guy. So running an offense that leverages the passing of an Anthony Davis, of a Christian Wood, hell, even Jackson Hayes has done a pretty good job with it so far. And using them as trigger men and passers has been a really good workaround that kind of builds in a buffer just in case one of those lead guards goes down due to injury. So that is a weakness of the roster, but they've built the scheme in a way that kind of makes sure it won't matter as much. And that was another one of the things that I wanted to have the team do before preseason. And so far they've really blown me away with what they've done.
Wow. Damn. I'll be honest. If you guys want X's and O's, yes, go to Tim's. Go to so it's on Playback, Lakers Exceptionalism, and
Lakers Watch Party. Yeah, so playback.tv/Lakers Watch Party. We do every game. We'll do streams during the week. I'll do film reviews, all sorts of stuff there. Lakers Exceptionalism on YouTube, and that's the name of the post as well. We're on Spotify, Apple, like wherever you find your podcasts, we should be there. We're doing like 1 a week for those, or if you want 10 a month instead of 4 a month, we have a Discord with a great community. People like Sean Davis, who you mentioned earlier, he's in there. He's paying at the tier where he gets access to that dashboard and tracker document. So I see him tweeting stuff out about the Lakers X's and O's. He's doing great work, creating content off of some of that tracking I've done. So if you want to just learn the game, talk to other people who like that sort of stuff, there's a great community there, and you can get access to like weekly film reviews and 10 pods a month instead of 4 and all sorts of different things. But check out my Twitter. It's got all the info. I'll stop trying to sell stuff.
No, bro. Like the one thing I do like about the Laker community, like in general, we all try to lift each other up to a certain point. Like we engage with each other, and it's huge. This Laker community is huge. Like the other day, I kind of found like a Laker community that was just all in Spanish. And I was like, yo, wow. Whoa, okay, interesting. Like literally, I think I saw a Spanish version of Sean. Like, do you know how rare that is? But anyway, I digress.
No, anyway. You seriously, like for real though, like we've got cap experts, X's and O's experts. We got people who are like, this is the footwork breakdown, like all sorts of different things. Ranging from like super nerdy with the numbers to like, very much more like talking about the vibes of the team and, going through, scandal type stuff and everything in between. It's such a great community, and, it's always good to interact with the different groups.
Yeah.
And everyone has a different perspective, which is nice.
Everybody has a different perspective. If Zen was here, he would say that Cam Reddish should go back to Puerto Rican basketball. He probably said some probably outlandish things about Cam Reddish. He doesn't like him. And yeah, we try to balance things out in PGM, but honestly, like if there was something about the cap that I would talk about, this podcast would probably be 3 hours. Like that's how nerdy I am with when it comes to the cap and the business side of it. But yeah, it's great to have the diversity. It really is, and I really haven't seen a fan base like that. You know, not Boston, not just saying. but anyway, KB man, you're also a coach. KB, do you have any plays that you would like to see them? Anything you agree? Anything you want to add to this, man?
I think the horns action there. I mean, most of my teams, since we're pretty small and we're not really that athletic, we kind of do a lot of. We borrow plays from the Dubs playbook, so it's kind of interesting to see what Tim and them are going to break down when it comes to the Lakers, because I have seen the Rams action, which is pretty interesting, but I didn't know it was going to be as not complex, but they ran the same thing over, and if they didn't do it, they just did it on the opposite side with another player. Because I think Tim, they did it with Austin Reeves, where they just kept on doing it either on the left side and then they switched it to the right side, to where they kept going underneath the screen, to where they're not even trying to contest Austin Reeves. They're just like, shoot it, like he can't shoot. So it's kind of interesting to see what the Lakers are going to run this year, based on the roster we have, because I didn't know Taurean Prince can shoot like that off a clip just that quick, and how he can attack closeouts. It's interesting.
Yeah, dude, he's been like one of the premier off-screen three-point shooters in the NBA over the past couple seasons. Like looking at his shooting percentage on those plays, it's like at or above 40% like every season for the past like 5 or 6 years. He's really good at that. And then another big difference between like him and Malik Beasley is if he catches the ball pin down or something and the shot isn't there, but the drive is there, like he can actually attack a closeout, get to the rim, finish at the rim, shoot the floater, and he's a much better passer as well. So just being able to like extend an advantage and finish off of an advantage more so than just like we ran the play. If the three wasn't there, now we have to like reset and try something else. It's just a big difference and really helps the flow of the offense, and is another thing that Prince brings to the table.
Right. And just seeing like what this team can do, and just how this roster, man, it gets me excited. So I don't really, like I said, preseason might have upset me if I was an actual, just everything mattered, but just seeing how well this team can be at its best. And they're not even playing 100%. That's just what it makes me more interested. So yeah, that's where I'm at, Tony. It's going to be really interesting with this team.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Like I feel like this is the first off season in a long time that I have kind of like the same excitement as 2020 going in, and it's different. But let me explain myself. It's like the high that we got all these players, like the high that like, whoa, we got a squad here, we got something here, like. I don't know, just a very different offseason from last year. Like I feel like a new person, like almost to the point that I think I can grow hair. But yeah, I'm just saying, like it's great to see, and hopefully it can translate to the season. But going into that a bit later, just wanted to ask, this one. This one is a bit interesting, because if you think about it, the coaching staff, like I don't know, Tim, you've seen in Twitter, you've seen other media outlets. It's like either Darvin Ham doesn't adjust, he doesn't make a play, he doesn't do this. It's how what's his name calling that they do, Coach Pockets.
Yep.
Something to that sense. Do you think there's more to this coaching staff than it lets on, or have they just improved drastically since their inception?
I think there's a couple parts to it. I would say my assessment of the coaching staff early last season was that, like, from a defensive scheme standpoint, They were not doing much that was nuanced. They were running 2 different types of drop coverage, and they were switching, and like that was it. And it wasn't what I was hoping to see. We saw Darvin Ham when he was in charge of the Bucks defensive scheme over the past couple seasons prior to him joining the Lakers. They were super versatile. They ran a bunch of different stuff. And I think that it looks like we're going to see that this year. But last year we weren't seeing that. So that was disappointing. We certainly saw a lot of like rookie head coach, like game management mistakes with like timeouts and rotations and things like that he learned from and got better from. We also saw with the offensive scheme some like good plays, some well-designed plays, but they ran a lot of stuff early in the year that didn't fit the team. They ran a lot of that like double drag, 2 ball screens in a row for Russell Westbrook. And that's a type of play that works really well for a D-Lo or somebody who can draw the defense up to them because of the threat of their 3-point shooting. For Russ, it doesn't really work. And it didn't work. And they were scoring like their offensive rating was like 80 something when he ran those plays, which is not good. Yet it was still one of their most used things for him and for that portion of the season. So I was not happy with that. The rate at which they were even running plays was pretty low. Like when you play basketball, if you're running like a set play where everybody knows where everybody should be and the playmaker, you know, they're able to make reads more easily. You're putting guys in roles that match their skill sets. The rollers are rolling, the passers passing, the shooters are in shooter spots. That's a better way to operate than just like freelancing, you know, we're going to just kind of play pickup basketball. LA was playing a lot of pickup basketball early last season. And I think at that point in time, it was not wrong to say that coaching staff was like below average. And like, if you were ranking them, I'd put them in like the mid 20s, low 20s. And I don't think that was wrong. But then things got better. Then he learned from the mistakes. He got better with the time management. He got better with the rotations. They, from an offensive scheme standpoint, started running better plays that fit the personnel better, and they were running more plays more frequently. And it just got better and better and better. And then they made it, those trades and improved the roster. And you got to see what the better process along with the better roster looked like. And we saw how good that team could be. And they really peaked and finished the end of the regular season into the playoffs at a much different level than they were at for most of the year. So if you're ranking like how good was Darvin Ham and his staff last season, and you're like, oh, they were around average, like, okay, I think that's fair because they finished the season really hot, but for a lot of the year, they weren't all that good. What I've noticed in preseason is instead of kind of reverting back to, starting from scratch, they've built upon that really strong form from last year. And I would argue that form at the end of last season was like top 10 coaching staff in the NBA. And they're continuing to, from an offensive scheme standpoint, run stuff at a high frequency that's high caliber that fits the personnel. Defensively, they're building in all that I would want to see. And I would expect that like the game management stuff will continue to be good now that they've learned their lesson. So we might see a big jump in like last year to this year and how good the coaching staff is, but it shouldn't be new. It shouldn't be a surprise. But if you formed an opinion on them the first couple months of the season and have like dug into that, you're out of date. Like you're falling behind. And on the adjustments piece, I think certainly part of it is like, this is a lot of times it's like super nuanced stuff that like KB and I like, coaching, you kind of get into those weeds, but for a lot of people, it's not really part of the entertainment experience, and they're not, wasting a bunch of time like going through coaching clinics and, diagramming plays and all that stuff. So I totally understand just being a fan and not even noticing that. Or if something works, it's because we adjusted. If something didn't work, it's because we didn't adjust. That's not really how it always goes. And so like I'm seeing adjustments and I do my best to point them out on my podcast and on Twitter and on the streams. And a lot of times going into the playoffs, game to game, I would say, okay, this is what this team is doing. Here's how I would adjust. And then like they would literally do it the next game. And they were, I was able to be pretty in sync with them. And that gave me confidence in like what they were seeing. They were seeing the same things and they were making those adjustments. So if you're following along with that journey, you'll notice those. I'm going to try to do more this year, and we're going to be doing an adjustment of the week video in the regular season to try to really illustrate what that looks like. Because it's one thing for me to tweet out and say, oh, great adjustment by Darvin Ham doing, X, Y, and Z thing with terms most people haven't heard of. It's another thing to like literally show it on video and highlight what they were doing and what the defense did and how they adjusted. So keep an eye out for that. They've already done a pretty good job with that in preseason. Like we've seen teams defend double drag certain ways that hurt LA in the playoffs. They've already shown and flexed counters to those. We've seen teams like try to run different scheme coverages, and they've used like ram action or different things to force teams into drop or force teams to do certain things that they don't want to do. So the adjustments have already begun, even though these are exhibition games. And I would tell people that, like, I don't know, go, keep an eye on what Sean Davis is saying. Keep an eye out, like, what KB's saying, or what I'm saying, what other people who have, like, they're degenerates who have wasted a bunch of time in their lives learning this stuff. Let us try, ask questions, try to learn if you can. But, there's a chess match going on, and if you don't know what to look for, it's really easy to miss, but it's a lot of fun to follow if you can take the time to learn a little bit more about it.
1,000%. Yeah, it's chess, not checkers, man. So that's what happens in basketball. So most definitely excited. But Tony, well, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I think the whole I think it's trauma. Like, if I'm being totally honest, like from a fan perspective, from a pure fan perspective, is trauma, and it's all because like I feel that Denver series was brutal. Like as a Laker fan, like it was brutal because we all like I screamed, and I think at the time we were all in playback. In purple in PGM fan cave, and we were like, "Yo, please sub out D'Lo. It's not working. It's not working. Why is he starting?" Like it was to the point where we kind of felt like that series kind of cemented in a lot of minds of Laker fans, like, oh, we have a coaching problem. Oh, we have a what's it called? A coach that just is a player's coach. He'll do what the players want, but he won't do it'll take some weird narratives, and that's kind of like what I wanted to. And I appreciate the take, and I appreciate the information as well, because like that says a lot. Like, because sometimes as a fan, we don't. I'll be honest, like. And don't take, and I hope as coaches you don't take it as a disrespect what I'm gonna say, but we just want the results. It's just that simple.
That sounds like a fan. Yeah,
it sounds like a fan, but that's the thing. Like it sounds like a fan, and I am a fan. But hey, at the end of the day, like, yo, if you're starting Austin Reeves at the 5, like, fuck, we better win. We all know it's horrible, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, we just want the results.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that drives a lot of the perception of coaches. And I would say that, like, I thought the coaching staff did a pretty good job through the first couple rounds. Against Denver, they didn't, and that was really the first round where, I did my research. I said, hey, here's how I would defend Jokic, the Murray ball screens, all this different stuff, and they didn't. It took them like way longer to find the answers to stuff than I thought it should have, given that, like, Jamal Murray ball screens, there was like one small weakness in them that a couple teams figured out, and it was like a weird quirky thing with his pull-up three-point shooting, which overall was very good, but if you pushed him to his offhand and you went under screens, he wasn't taking open pull-up threes, so you were able to essentially negate ball screens. LA took way too long to figure that out, and then they did start to do it, and it helped a little bit, but things like that, or defending Jokic in the post, like, there was a pretty clear route that worked better than several others, and it took them like games to find it, and that was really frustrating for me. It's like, I'm putting in the work, I'm a one-man army over here, I'm looking at the film and I'm tracking stuff, and I can see what's working. Why aren't you seeing what's working? And that was really the first round that was really frustrating for me, because they had other than that, they had been really, really solid. So I don't think, sometimes they did a great job. They did all they could and the results weren't there. But other times the results weren't there because they didn't do all they could. And it wasn't only their fault. Like, the Lakers shot making stunk. They lost those 4 games by combined like 28 points or 27 points. And if you look at the expected scoring versus the actual scoring for the Lakers based on the shot quality that they generated, the differential was about like 27 points. So they basically played Denver even, but just couldn't hit shots. And, that was just such a frustrating series, man. But I don't know. Another thing too is, like, coaches don't like to criticize other coaches, and it's a very, like, taboo thing to do. So a lot of the people who do know what they're talking about won't say anything. And you'll see a lot of coaching Twitter is just like, oh, here's a play, but not, oh, this play's good, this play isn't good, here's why it's good, here's why it's bad. Like, and so if you're trying to learn, you have to do a lot of that on your own, unless you're following people like me who don't. I don't know. I've got the fake name. I'm out here trying to tell you how it is, and I'm not saying, oh, this guy's a bad person, here's what he did, but like, hey, I don't think this was the best approach. Here's what they could have done instead. Here, I'll show my work, and let it be what it is.
It's this thing where it's like, if you're gonna say something, say the answer, like say the answer that was correct, or the or bring the solution. It's like, oh, that was bad. Like, no, you come on, you gotta bring something to the table. It's like, if that wasn't the play, what was the play? Like, and
exactly.
I think that's fair. That's totally fair.
And most people don't do that. And most people don't do that. And that's why coaching staffs, when you hear them respond to like fan criticism, they're like, they don't know what they're talking about. Or like, they rightfully shouldn't be looking at that stuff, because 99.9% of people aren't even presenting a solution, let alone having done any research to like make that a meaningful suggestion. So I don't know. It's a tricky space, but one that I think the Lakers are a better position than most teams in heading into this next season. So we'll see.
Yeah. And just curious, do you know offhand, like, who, like, because Darvin, here's the weird thing, and again, the fan in me was like, yo, Darvin Ham is a defensive coach, but the more I'm going through this pod with you, it's like I'm leaning more like, yo, is it the staff that's just doing this, or is it him, or in terms of like adding more to the offensive repertoire? Because like Frank Vogel was known to be like the defensive coach, but it's what category would you put Darvin Ham, as a defensive coach? As just a good coach? Like,
he's more of a defensive coach. He's a defensive guy. That's his expertise. The guy who on the coaching staff who is really running the offense his name is Chris Gent. He is the tall, white, bald guy.
Right. Is he the shooting coach?
He also has been a shooting coach in the past, and I believe is working with several players on that. But he's someone that at the college level at Ohio State, at the, I guess it was the D League at that point with the Bakersfield Jam, they don't exist anymore. And then with the Atlanta Hawks, he was the one orchestrating those offenses. And I actually did a podcast like when he was first brought onto staff, and I was like, hey, I watched film on all these teams. Here's what I would expect from a Chris Gent offense. And I listened to that a couple months ago, and it was like pretty much what we saw. So I feel pretty confident saying that he's the one designing things. And I couldn't tell you. I see at times he's the one helping with the play calls. I don't know if Ham is fully in charge of that, or if Gent's like, hey, run double drag. Or if he's just helping him in the prep meetings before the games, but he is the one who's more responsible for that end of things. And man, like with football, you know exactly who does what. They've got different titles. There's an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, and it's easy to hold guys responsible. With basketball, so many staffs, like even if they do have like leads for different areas, they'll just say, well, everybody does everything and we don't have coordinators and all that. And it's really difficult to gauge like who's actually doing stuff. Like that's how you end up hiring Luke Walton from the Warriors and him having absolutely nothing to do with any of their X's and O's and like him not being who you want him to be, is because there's so much like smoke and mirrors around who actually does anything. But yeah, Chris Gent's that guy.
Yeah, I could sense the pain when you said Luke Walton. Like
it was so bad, dude. It was so bad.
It was dark.
Bad.
It was dark times. I'm not gonna lie. It was dark. It was pretty dark those days. All right. So knowing that, this is a different, like as soon as we improved, as soon as this roster improved in 2020 and so on and so forth, and then we had this weird Westbrook era, and then now that we're here, like I'm not gonna lie, like I think we improved, but everybody's like in lockstep. It seems like everybody's kind of like, oh, we're gonna improve as well. So I'm just curious, and let's start with KB on this one. What's the biggest threat in the West for the Lakers? And I know the question is kind of weird, but where do you have the Lakers, I guess? And in the West?
Biggest threat. I'm still putting the Nuggets after they won the chip. They are the reigning defending champs. Also with the Suns, I have done my fair share, and Tim will probably laugh at this. Tony, you as well. I've done my fair share of clowning the Suns. Okay, I said they don't have a bench. I said they're not that good. That's me coming from a fan's perspective. Now, from a coach's perspective, or somebody just watching the game, the Suns are a really good team. And the fact that they were able to do what they did without Booker and Beal, that definitely makes me think twice about them. But I also do think with the Lakers being fully equipped, it will be one hell of a series. So I think I put the Lakers at they're like probably fifth in the West. I got four other teams before them. I just can't really name them as of right now. I got the first two I have for sure is the Suns and the Nuggets. I wanted to put the Kings up there, but I'm still iffy on them. And then also, I'm not sleeping on the Dubs. I'm just not. Every single time I do, they always surprise me. So, yeah. So I guess that would be the four I have before the Lakers. But I would love to be wrong.
Yeah, and this was this pod was recorded after the news last Sunday, after the news of Steve Adams getting season-ending surgery, which it's not something that you want to hear, to be honest. And hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. But that is a blow for Memphis. That is not ideal. So taking that into account, I I kind of agree with you in terms of just the offensive firepower that the Suns have. There is something that Sean has been saying this for the longest time, or at least I could pull up tweets, but and I'm not saying that he's wrong, but I'm saying there's always a first time, and the Suns defense, like, it has to be what, minimum 15 in the league. So if they can get there, and with the offensive firepower that they have, I think they are the biggest threat. And again, I'm not disrespecting Denver. Denver still has probably the best player in the world in Jokic. Yeah, again, I feel like those two are the favorites currently. At least in my book, again, the Lakers are right there, but they are the biggest threat. I do agree on that. It's sad to see what happened to Memphis. The Kings, actually, I think they're going to be a great regular season team. To be fair, like, it just depends on, does Sasha develop to what they want to be, or not even develop? Does he show out what he was in EuroLeague? I don't know. But other than that, I think it's Denver and Suns and Lakers. Like, I feel like it's those three teams. But Tim, what's your gauge on this?
Yeah, I'm in a similar state of mind. I am most worried about the Suns, and I understand that for a lot of people they haven't like seen it, so they don't want to believe it until that point. But I look at this roster, I look at this coaching staff, and I see a lot of elite isolation scoring options. I see what should be an elite pick and roll offense. I see, even though Nurkic is like AD food, he gives them a nice playmaking threat from the big man spot that should help their lack of true point guard play. I look at how this coaching staff was assembled, and with Frank Vogel, he's not perfect on defense, but he's one of the best like defensive minds in the NBA right now. And a big problem of his with the Lakers was his offensive X's and O's weren't very good. And thankfully, he has obtained, I would say, a top two offensive coordinator mind in the NBA with Kevin Young, who a couple weeks before they signed him on, I was saying, like, hey, this guy either should be a head coach, or if not, he should be a lead assistant paid like a head coach because he's that good. And that's what they ended up doing. They have him paired with Vogel. They're paying Kevin Young like a head coach, just about. He's the highest paid assistant in the NBA, and he has orchestrated just some phenomenal offenses and just like a machine of an offense a couple seasons ago. Last year, I think Monty kind of took the keys away from him a little bit, and after they traded for KD, they really dumbed things down, and it came as a detriment to them. Like, the Lakers made trades, and then they took their lumps while everybody was learning the roster or learning the playbook, and they weren't as good for the first couple games because of that. But then long term, they knew the playbook. with Phoenix, they traded for KD and then just kept everything at a lower level and then never brought it back up. And I think that hurt them big picture. So Kevin Young's really good. He's legit. The roster's legit. I think this could be one of the best coached teams in the NBA, and they're going to be really, really good. So I would have them first. I am less worried about Denver. I don't trust their depth as much. And from a regular season seeding standpoint, they're going to have more like injuries than they did last year. They were like incredibly lucky in terms of like they were able to be healthy pretty much the whole season. And I don't think that'll continue. Just odds are it won't. And I just, with their lack of depth, which does matter, it only doesn't matter when your top guys stay healthy all the time. I think from a seeding standpoint, the Lakers can get ahead of them. The Lakers have their own injury concerns, but have much, much better depth. And from my perspective, this is the most talented Lakers team I have analyzed. This is the best spacing Lakers team LeBron will have played on. And I think this could very well be the best Lakers team that I have analyzed. And so I think they'll be the 2 seed and head into the playoffs. Very, very dangerous. I would have Golden State, my 4th team behind Denver. And I think that's a clear top 4 in the West.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Oh, okay. So hold on. You said you put the Lakers at number 4.
No, I'm saying I'd go Phoenix, Lakers, Denver, Golden State.
Wow. Okay. Now
how injuries go would be kind of how those things kind of swing. But I think this is a top 4 team in the West for sure. And I like them better than Golden State. I like them better than Denver. It's just a matter of how healthy they are.
See, Tony, the thing, see now when Tim said he didn't want to go 2 hours, makes me want to go to 2 hours because I would want to break down opening night with this guy because I'm wondering what he sees. Because what I see is Denver, they're the same team. They just don't have, they're not the same team, but they just don't have Bruce. They don't have Bruce Brown anymore. And I think they lost another guy. Jeff Green. But other than that, I still feel that I fear the Nuggets. I want to win, but I fear the Nuggets still.
Yeah, they're really good. And I think David Adelman, their offensive coordinator, it's between him and Kevin Young are the top offensive minds in basketball right now to me.
Right.
They're going to, with how they use Jokic, they're going to be able to integrate new guys pretty seamlessly. And I think they'll be able to get more out of their depth pieces than a lot of people are anticipating just because they're newer, or at least newer for Denver. But I still think this Lakers team last year played them almost even and somehow got swept in the closest sweep ever, or second closest sweep ever, whatever it was. And this Lakers team got better, and I think Denver got worse. So I think that, and then Jamal Murray shot like the best player ever in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to continue. He's really good. He's not that good. And I also think the Lakers will have learned from, if they did any sort of reflection on, hey, what worked and what didn't work in the playoffs against Denver and what would we do moving forward, I think they should be able to, in a future game or series against them, start with the right answers instead of dicking around for 2 or 3 games to find the right answers.
So that was my question to Tim. I was always wanted to ask you on Twitter about that. So they did use a couple of those games to experiment.
They did, yeah. In game 1, they tried to play Jokic straight up, which was a bad idea. They're entire. I'll have to go find the recordings or something, but I did entire freaking PowerPoint presentations pregame. We did pregame shows of here's how you defend Denver. Here's how not to defend Jokic. Here's how to defend Jokic. Here's what the Lakers could do. Putting Rui on Jokic with AD lurking was one of those top recommendations. And when they did it, it worked for 9 quarters in a row or 7 quarters in a row. Denver didn't have an answer to it. And LA just wasn't able to capitalize on offense during that time to win any games, but they had the tactical advantage for a decent period of time. And then defending Murray pick and rolls was frustrating for me as well. And he hit everything. So that kind of masked some of it also, but this is a team that now can hedge and do things that hurt Denver. So I don't know. This is just a much better team and a team that should match up better with Denver. And they've hopefully learned their lessons. So I like the Lakers in that matchup. I don't know if they're going to win game 1 of the season, especially with them installing a new defense, new pieces and all that. I would expect Denver to actually win that game, but in a playoff matchup, both teams healthy, I like the Lakers.
Correct. Tony, go ahead and ask the next question because I could be on this. I could be picking Tim's brain for like 4 hours, bro. Like,
Hey, well, that just means that at some point when the season calms down, or if it calms down, or if there is a time, then we'll ask Tim if he wants to be part of this podcast again.
I'm happy to be back. Pod spaces. You just let me know. I'm always happy to talk hoops.
Oh yeah, no, I just got one. I'm gonna ask Tim one question before we end the podcast, but keep going, Tony. I know we got
yeah. But I did have a question though. So, okay, so here's the thing that about Denver, and you tell me if I'm off base here. I'm curious to figure out how does Hayes and Christian kind of mix here. Like how does it, because again we haven't seen it, so we're probably not like what's the ideal rotation here against Denver? Like opening night, what's the do we see Hayes? Do we not see that? Because we've seen that in preseason, that combo between Hayes, Christian Wood. We've seen like Hayes AD, Christian Wood AD. Do we see that for Denver, or was that just like exhibition test run kind of figuring out like what would be the ideal game plan against Denver?
I would certainly. I mean, I don't have like a rotation map put together, though. I will in the future. Give me some time, I can get you that. But big picture, I do like the idea of like you can play Wood and AD together, and you're fine from a spacing standpoint. I don't feel as good about playing AD and Hayes together unless AD's 3-point shooting is legit, which I am still very skeptical on. He's done this in preseason before where he shot 80% from three one preseason. He shot 50%, 40%. Preseason's such a small sample, it doesn't matter. So I'm not bought in yet. He said he hasn't changed the form. The form on film doesn't look changed. So I am expecting it to be about as good as it was last year and the other years. So I don't think AD Hayes makes a ton of sense, but AD Rui or AD Wood or Wood Hayes. And in any of those matchups or any of those duos, I like having, my better rim protector, shot blocker guy, whether that's AD or Hayes, off ball lurking with Wood or Rui just being on Jokic and being a body. You don't want to defend Jokic 1v1. There is no Jokic stopper. Post defense is team defense. And that's how I would align, because if you're going to send help, whether it's in a ball screen or a post up, and you've got two on the ball and the offense has a 4v3 off the ball, I want Anthony Davis, instead of being one of the two guys guarding Jokic in a double team, I want him being one of the guys erasing the numbers advantage off the ball. And I think the addition of Christian Wood allows the Lakers to have that additional size, have a bigger body that can do what Rui did, and you still send help, of course, and allow AD to stay off ball while on the offensive end still keep some great spacing. So I think that from a how do we defend Jokic standpoint, I still see those things being the smartest. If you're going to send help other than that, what you could easily do is, so there are three things you want to. I'm getting flashbacks from a couple months ago. If you're going to send help on Jokic, you want three things to be true. It needs to be fast. If you just let him take his time, they will dice you up. So you need to send it fast. It needs to be aggressive. And you need to make sure that you feel good on the weak side. And if you're going to give the offense an advantage, I want it to be on the weak side. I want them to have to make a skip pass that's on time, on target. So I would be sending a double team from the guy who made the entry pass on the strong side, and then bump a defender, the next perimeter defender, over from the weak side over to take away Murray or whoever made that entry pass. So you've got two on Jokic. It's a real double team. It's not just another guy who's in the area. You're in his face. You've taken away the immediate bounce, the immediate kick out, and he needs to make a skip pass to the other side of the court. And that's where I've got AD or Jackson Hayes there ready to pick off a pass or block a shot from a cutter or something like that.
Gotcha. See, this is now, bro. I
told you,
hyped. Bro. I am hyped now. I really bro. I really want to see this game now. I
could do this forever, man. I tracked every Jokic post up in the playoffs and what every team did, and this was the most effective way of doing it. And the aggravating thing is the Lakers in the playoffs used that, and they used the Rui thing with AD lurking in that series, and they both worked, and they just didn't use them enough. Like they had the right answers, they didn't find them quickly enough, and they didn't stick with them consistently enough. And that's going to haunt me, and it should haunt them. And hopefully they learn from it as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I expect a spanking. Well, it wasn't a spanking, but I mean, it was traumatizing enough. Like, and I'll be honest. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes I wake up at night and I see that he's Serbian, right? Like that Serbian
Yep.
beast, just one-legged 3-point shot with AD defending him, and I'm like, oh no. Woo. But anyway, let's proceed with the next question, and then KB has his own. We're almost wrapping up here. But
Sure.
just and let's start with Tim on this one. Lakers record after 10 games. And by the way, I posted right there the 10 games that we have going on. I don't have in front of me if they're home games, road games, but just curious enough for after these 10 games. Again, if you take a look, we see Denver, Phoenix, Sacramento, Orlando, Clippers, Orlando, Miami, Houston, Phoenix again, and then Portland. We started last season 2-10. What's this season gonna look like, Tim?
7-3. I think you take care of business against Orlando twice, against Houston, against Portland. That's 4 ones that I feel good about. The Clippers, that's 5. And then Denver, Phoenix twice, Sacramento, Miami. Actually, I feel pretty good about Miami, but Denver, Phoenix, and Sacramento. So it's Phoenix twice. Between those games, I think you're going to drop a couple. And to my earlier point, I think the defense is going to take some time to get to like fully operational battle station level. And if we start the season 0-2, I'm not going to be like freaking out about that, because I think that's kind of what I'm expecting. Like start 0-2, end up finishing the first 10 games like 7-3 or maybe 6-4 is what my expectation is. And if they go like 5-5 or worse, I will be worried. If they go 8-2 or better, I will be very pleasantly surprised, and that would indicate to us that the defense is ahead of schedule.
Because I didn't say it, and KB, you go after me because I am hyped. I'm optimistic. The depressive tone, the mojito is ready for the celebrations, not the depression. So
It's extra spicy. That mojito's extra spicy.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, why not, bro? 10-0. I'll say it. 10-0. I'll say. Hey, yo, I know it's rarely optimistic. I'll probably lean to what Tim. If you're a betting man, lean to what Tim just said. If you're on the alcoholic side, just lean to what I said. But KB, man, what's your take, man?
Well, it's funny because that was going to be my actual question to Tim, so that even this question segues into it. So I say I was right there with Tim. I said either we go 6-4, 7-3. I would love for it to be 8-2, but 7-3 is probably where I'm basing where I'm at. I was just gonna ask Tim, like, and then Tony, I'm pretty sure you're already wondering it as well. I was gonna ask, can we get to a hot start, just go on the ground running start, since we have continuity and we're bringing mostly all of our players back. I was just wondering if you thought that was going to be the case, but you already answered it by saying 7-3, I think, because I honestly think we're going to get our get back against the Clippers. I want that get back really bad because I'm just tired of hearing them. So that's just me, though.
Yep. Yeah, I think it depends on how you look at it. Like, I think they could very well go 0-2 to start, which would not be hot, but then 7-3 in the first 10, which would be hot. So I guess it depends on the frame of mind. I'm sure every win and every loss will mean that we're, the season's over, or we're winning the title, as fans like to say and react to. So I'll try to stay grounded, but I do think this schedule lines up pretty well for LA to open things up. It is just tough to go Denver, Phoenix the first 2. And Sacramento's a damn good team as well. We'll have to see for Phoenix who's available, if anyone's injured. I think they've had a couple guys out, but they may just be little things are precautionary. So we'll see. But I do think that, you're certainly not going 2-10 or 2-8 or 2-11 or whatever the team started out last year. But part of that as well was they played better than it, but their shooting luck was just horrendous. So if you have that again, you can definitely go 4-6 against these 10 games. If like you just can't make a 3 to save your life.
Gotcha. Tony, it's on you, man.
Well, I mean, yeah. My realistic take is probably I th- I wouldn't be surprised if we end up to be like 5-5, just because like maybe we get again like it's not that I'm worried about LeBron. It's just he takes time to kind of ramp up. He's gonna take his time. Do we have enough depth? I think we do. But I'm not for some reason I don't trust the 3-point shooting in this team. Like, just to be fair, and maybe that's a wild take, Tim. You tell me later, but just if you think about it, like true 3-point shots, like shooters or volume shooters, you could say is D'Lo, Gabe,
Prince.
Prince to a certain point. I think he wants to be. He said immediately that he wants to be 40%, and then Austin Reeves. But at the same time, like, does AD's 3-point shot real? Because they're gonna dare him. They're gonna be like, "Yo, you take that shot all day, all long." Like we're content with that. So does he take it, or does he do like the 3 dribble, try to pull the midi? I don't know, but there is something about this team that kind of worries me about the 3-point shot. Like it's more of this. When I'll see it, I'll believe it. Does that make sense? And yeah, I'm there, but yeah, I'm. And by the way, even if 10 games passes and we're below 500, or I hope not, but I'm still optimistic on the team because anything can happen. Anything can absolutely happen, and it's not a good omen, but it's not season's toast kind of thing, because I feel like fans do love to say that. Like, again, this West is loaded. I don't see, like, even when we say Houston, it's not like it's a gimme game. They're not a tanking team. Portland, they're a young team. We should win there, but again, they're young. They have positional size. They have Scoot. They have DeAndre Ayton. They're not scrubs. They're not like, oh, these like G Leaguers. They're a solid squad. Or Orlando as well. Like, I'm just saying, these teams are teams. Like, they're like the level of talent that they have. I feel like we should win, but it won't be gimmies. Like, there's no such thing as that. That's what I'm trying to get. There's no
there are no
last year's
gimme games
Spurs.
in the NBA, especially with it's the first week of the season, first 2 weeks of the season. Later in the year, when teams are realizing they're out of it and they are tanking, it'll be different. But everybody's trying. Everybody has hope right now, and those teams are going to give you their best shot.
Exactly.
So I'm with you. They're not like, if the team does worse than 7-3, like, I will be disappointed, but it doesn't mean it's like the end of the world. It'll be all right. Well, why did that happen? Did we just not shoot well, but we got good shots? Did we not shoot well and we didn't get good shots? Was the defense a mess? Like, does LeBron not look healthy? Like, what? Why? And then I think the nuance will help dictate how we respond to it. But it's a long season. The fact that the West is so deep means that, like, you don't have time to screw around for 30 or 40 games and then try to figure it out if you want to. Like, you can end up the season in good form, but you want the standings to be in a good spot too. You do not want to have to be fighting to stay out of the play-in, and you would love to be able to have as much home court advantage in the playoffs as possible. So
that's very
getting
true.
right as quickly as you can and being as healthy as you can, all that stuff matters, because you want to have the easier matchups come playoff time, and then, try to peak at the right moment instead of having to like claw and fight for everything just to get into the playoffs and get through a round or two, like we saw with the past couple seasons of this team.
Yeah, and that's actually like what's curious. Like, that's in essence what a championship team is. Like, you operate in a, like, especially this team where you have an older LeBron, like a 39-year-old LeBron. You have a an injury-prone AAD, to a certain point, you want to be positioned in the seedings where you can hey, you need 3 games, 5, because that's what Denver did last season. They were so up there that they're like, yo, let's play horrid. Like they sat Jokic a good portion. They sat Murray as well. Like they
He lost the MVP because of it. Because
exactly.
they were coasting. And when you're a team that your goal is the title and you've positioned yourself well, that's stuff that you can afford to do and keep your guys
Correct.
healthy and rested and ready to go for the games that matter. And how quick you start can help make it so that you can take those games off. And we could see Jalen Hood-Schifino in game 78 out there running the show with some other guys, and D'Lo's out there, with his feet up and some popcorn.
Yo, hey KB, do you know about that bet?
Which bet?
There is a bet, and hey, it's on Twitter. it's certified by Zen. And Zen is rebel. He is. He's another PPGM brother. But here's he bet he hates. But by the way, we're gonna segue to this topic because we kind of like to end it here. But he hates anime, like anything that's a cartoon. He hates it. He hates it.
Yep.
So I told him, hey, like, yo, if Jalen Hood-Schifino scores 10 points in a regular season game, you have to watch one series of my choosing. And he said, okay. And I'm just,
you're gonna win that bet. It's a long season.
Hey, yeah. I know it's 82 games. Like it's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. Like I'm just waiting for that 30-point blowout and JHS is scoring 10 points. Like that's the only thing that needs to be done and sealed. So yes, that is the bet that I have. And by the way, what I'm watching is actually an anime series, and it's actually on Netflix. I forgot the name of it. It's pretty dark. Kind of fits the timeline of where we are right now, which is October, Halloween approaching. But yeah, it's I'm watching one of those series. For some reason, I'm in a anime kind of crunch. But KB, what are you watching, my friend? Is it Love Is Blind, or did you finish?
I finished Love Is Blind. Was watching that with the missus. I am actually watching Power, so I'm starting to do that over again. Starting season 4 already because we're getting close to these. I'm getting close to the end of season 3. But yeah, that is what I'm watching right now. But yeah.
So I think you're pretty late on that, right?
Power, I'm very late, super late, super duper late. If Zen was in here, he'd probably kick me off this recording for saying it. So
yeah, he'll probably if you see him in person, he'll probably slap you.
Exactly.
But, Tim, I know you're a busy person, and I know, I think I had a count, or at least in my notifications, I actually have your account, as an alert, and I think I have 50 tweets of you in one day.
Oh shit, my bad. If other people want to do that, that's great. But there will be days where I do tweet a lot, so.
No, but I mean, it's not like tweeting like, oh, I am hungry. Oh, I love the Lakers. No, you're tweeting paragraphs upon paragraphs and just data, which is great. So I'm just curious, man. Do you watch? Are you watching anything? TV shows, movies, anything that you're interested in?
Yeah, so I finished watching Ahsoka, and I am now watching Wheel of Time, which I tried to get into a while back, and then it was too slow, and I went away for a year, and then I guess a new season came out recently, and a bunch of people were saying it was good, so I gave it another try, and then half an episode after I picked it back up, it immediately got really good. So I'm watching that. It's somewhat like Game of Thronesy. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but I'm enjoying that. And,
I still haven't. I've watched the first season, and it was such a struggle to finish that first season that I'm like, can I watch that second season and be? Is it fulfilling? Or did you finish watching it, or are you watching it right now?
I'm almost through. I think I have an episode and a half left. When I first started, I am often doing things on my laptop, so I tried to multitask during it, and that was a bad idea because this is like, a new universe and all different terms, and they didn't kind of spoon feed you all the stuff. And so I got confused pretty quickly. I was like, what the hell's going on? So I like went through, reread the like episode synopses, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And yeah, I'm deep into season 2. I'm almost at the end of it. And I've enjoyed it, but not for everyone.
No, yeah. The other, yeah, that's a Prime. That's on Prime, and
Yes.
yeah, I'm probably gonna watch the last season then, the most recent season, season 2. I see it here, and I'm probably gonna start watching that Gen V, which is the boys kind of like offshoot.
Did you watch The Boys first, Tony?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Oh,
I did.
okay. Now I was like, make sure you watch that before you watch Gen V.
I would imagine that it doesn't make sense if you don't watch The Boys because it is part of the universe that they're trying to create. So yeah, I'll watch that. But anyway, let's end it here. Bro, I appreciate Tim, KB, and everybody that's tuned in. I appreciate you guys for really spending the time, like for the team that we love, the Lakers. Let's end it on this note. Denver versus Lakers. Opening night. Who's winning? KB.
I'm saying the Lakers. I'm saying the Lakers.
Bro,
There's no way I'm giving
for
this
my
to Denver.
10-0, it has to be the Lakers. So yeah, it's the Lakers.
No way I'm giving this to Denver. Nope.
Of course. Tim.
I have this one as a loss, but I want us to win, and I think it'll be competitive, and I'd be thrilled if we did win. But I think, new defensive scheme, integrating a lot of new guys, a couple dudes banged up against the Denver team that is at home, raucous environment, ring night, MVP, which should have been 3 times in a row MVP, and they're, pretty much running back the same group. I think they should have the advantage, but that doesn't mean we can't win. So I'll be covering the game live on playback, and we'll be having fun with it, and I'll be rooting for them, and I think we can win. But for me to get to my 7-3, I think that's one of the ones we do drop.
You know that I may have a proposal later. We'll talk because we are also in playback in PGM Fan Cave, but we'll talk later in offline. But for all those that are watching, just by the way, just shoot a follow. You can find Tim, NBA Tim, or we'll put the whole his podcast and also the playback links and his Twitter profile down in the description below. But I wanted to say appreciate you guys for tuning in, and let's see Lakers season. Get excited, regardless of it's a win-loss. We're going to have fun. And by the way, that is a very triggering statement to end this show, but let's end it there. Later, guys.
Go Lakers.
Soon as we step out the cage, we raising all of the stakes. Make no mistake, either you stay in your place or we putting you on a plate. Look at our face, we put the fear in the dirt.